Hey guys, it's Carolee. I just want to share an extra little mini episode with you every single week because I want you to know that it's possible to do this thing called living your best life and doing the thing that lights you up while being a busy mom. And I want to give you a little bit of a background, behind the scenes look at what's going on in my actual life and how I am doing this, how I'm doing the things that light me up and being a mom at the same time. So I'm going to tell you about what's going on in my life and the lessons that I'm learning. Take a listen. I had a big realization today, a big insight, and that was it's okay to be afraid. I've talked for a long time about how we need to feel our feelings. We need to allow every emotion to exist. And as soon as you allow that thing to happen, as soon as you tell your body that it's allowed to feel whatever it is you're feeling, all of a sudden your whole system relaxes. Like your shoulders, the tension just starts to melt as soon as you say it's okay. If you're feeling angry and you stop resisting the anger, you go, you're allowed to be upset over whatever thing just happened. All of a sudden your body is like, wait, that's allowed? It's okay? It's okay for me to be angry at this thing that just happened? Oh, it's this amazing, it washes over your whole body of oh, it's okay. And then the anger just kind of starts melting away. And I've been saying this, and teaching this for a while. And I realized that I've been not allowing myself to be afraid, to feel fear. And it's this notion that I've been taught my entire life. Fear not, don't be afraid, constantly. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. You're not supposed to feel fear. You don't have to be afraid. Don't be afraid, right? It's a nonstop onslaught of this idea that I'm not supposed to be afraid and I don't have to be afraid. And it's never ending. And then it hit me this morning, I get to be afraid. There's all sorts of reasons why it makes complete sense for me to be afraid. And it's amazing how allowing that to exist, it starts to immediately release the tension and the fear. As soon as you stop resisting the emotion, that's when you're able, when you accept that it exists and that it's okay, that's when it can start to actually move through you and start to dissipate. And it feels so counterintuitive, and yet it's so, so true. And I don't know, I feel fear about so many things. So many things in my life. I'm afraid for my kids and for their future, and I'm afraid for my husband, and I worry about him, and I'm worried about finances, and I'm worried about our home, and I'm worried about my business, and I'm worried about my podcast, and I'm worried about everything. There's so much fear in my life, and I've been resisting it forever because it felt like the faithful, right thing to do. If I just trusted more, I would not be afraid. If I could just be more, if I could just look to God more, I wouldn't be afraid. And I've just been resisting fear for so long, my entire life. And then I was doing this meditation this morning, and it was it's okay. It's okay to be afraid. And it just washed over me, and all the tension just disappeared from my shoulders, and my body immediately relaxed. And I stopped being so afraid as soon as I allowed myself to be afraid. As soon as I gave myself permission to be afraid, that's when the fear started going away. Isn't that amazing? As soon as I told myself that I was allowed to feel that way, that there's so many valid reasons to feel this way, that, hey, guess what? That emotion, and any emotion you feel really, but I'm specifically talking about fear in this moment, there are so many good reasons for me to be afraid. My brain's not making all of this up. It's not coming out of nowhere. I've got a whole lifetime of experiences that are showing up as evidence and proof of exactly why I should be afraid. And it's like all stacking up in my head. And I look at the past and it's like, of course. Of course, I look at things that have happened before and I feel fear that they will happen again. And that it's completely logical. And of course, when I, do I enact the other tools in my toolbox, because there's lots of tools. This is just one of the tools. When I look at some of the other tools, like, what story am I telling myself? That tool is really powerful. What story am I telling myself? I'm telling myself that the future is going to be the same as the past. I'm telling myself, usually I make meaning out of whatever circumstance. And a lot of the times we make things mean stuff because of what we're assuming other people are thinking. And we don't know what other people are thinking. We never know what other people are thinking unless we ask them. And even if other people really are thinking terrible things, that's because of them. Because if they really were being their fullest, purest, godliest selves, then it wouldn't matter really what we did. They would only think the highest of us. Right? I'm sure Gandhi's not looking at thieves and bums and thinking horrible things about them. He's thinking loving thoughts, right? When people are thinking bad things about you, it's not because of you. It's because of them, no matter really what you've done. Because no matter how imperfect we are still worthy of love. We're still deserving of love and forgiveness. Maybe not, there's boundaries are still important, and we don't need to get into that because that's not the purpose of this. But we're all still human beings who are filled with divinity. And anyways, there's lots of tools, and looking at the story I'm telling myself is a tool that I love to talk about, and it's been a really helpful one. But this particular tool of allowing myself to just feel whatever it is I'm feeling and giving myself full permission to be, and not to act or anything, but to just exist in a moment and be like, oh, I'm allowed and even justified in feeling fear right now. Giving yourself permission to just be is so freeing, and then you will be amazed at how quickly that emotion just starts to dissipate. It really is so freeing, because it's mostly we resist those negative feelings. We're like, I don't want to feel afraid. Nope. And we push it away. We shove it down. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to feel anger. We don't want to feel bitterness. We don't want to feel any of those other negative things. And so we pretend like they don't exist. We pretend like we're not really feeling them. We don't let ourselves be justified in feeling that way. We tell ourselves that we're wrong for feeling however we feel. And so we don't feel it. But if you give yourself permission to feel the way you're feeling just for a moment, I dare you to, because watch and see how quickly those feelings start to dissipate as soon as you allow yourself to exist. And the thing is like, I'm really religious. So if you're not, sorry, but I'm super religious. So I feel like God gave us all of the emotions. These are gifts, and they're indicators of like how we're doing. And they're all a gift. That anger, that jealousy, that bitterness, that fear, every single emotion was a gift, not just the happy emotions. Like they're all meant to help us through this life. And so we should be less afraid of them. And so I just wanted to wrap up and say that it's okay if you're afraid. It's okay to feel fear. You're allowed.